Hey everybody, welcome back to the Environmental Podcast. I hope you're all having a fantastic day whenever you're listening to this. Today we're going to be introducing a new segment, and it's called...
Headline Hook.
Ooh, what's that all about, Aaron? What's this going to be?
Basically, we're going to be going through the top environmental articles or opinion pieces from a popular news outlet, and we will comment on them as we go.
Cool. Let's jump right into it.
Okay. So
you have the news articles.
Yeah, I have the news articles here. So today we're reading from...
What?
Today we're reading from BBC News and their top science page, Science Environmental. And this will be a few days out because we record these a few days early, but...
We're proactive like that.
We're proactive like that, but that's fine because we were thinking for this segment we'd be commenting as much on the journalism and the presentation of the news as we are in the content of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the top article here says, sea ice loss linked to spread of deadly virus. Scientists say the decline of Arctic sea ice is connected to the spread of disease among marine mammals. So we're starting off with something nice and positive.
Wow, that sounds like something actually out of a post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, like, that's just something that, like, somebody writing a fiction novel would come up with.
Are you saying it's fake?
No, I mean, like, it's just kind of, it's
so
kind
extreme.
of obvious and so extreme that it's just like,
I
I can see why people might think it's fake. They'd be like,
mind-boggling.
oh, this is crazy. Not want to accept it.
Well, yeah, for those who don't know, it's basically about how the ice loss, the melting of the ice in the Arctic, not just maybe the sea ice, but also the permafrost. I've heard there's these old pathogens that have basically been trapped in the ice for years, and now they're melting, and maybe mammals who live in that part of the world are being infected with them, and who knows, some of them could work on humans.
Yeah, we literally have no idea until
Yeah.
something happens, and I think it's just...
Maybe Captain America's up there.
Captain America might be up there. There's an episode of Phineas and Ferb where the ice is melting and, like, people came out.
On a serious note, though, what do we think about this?
I don't know. It's pretty scary.
Well, it says the authors warn that this trend could continue as they believe climate-driven changes in the Arctic Ocean will increase. I believe that too.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I'm not a scientist, but I know enough about ice melting to know that it makes sense if the climate's warming.
Yeah, it seems really dangerous.
Yes. I think this is something that could, like, 50 years ago, if these crazy viruses, like potentially crazy viruses, were getting out, I feel like people would get behind that and they'd be like, shoot, we need to make a change. Yeah. But people will probably, like, that's just a news of today.
It's just another crazy news article, because not just environmentally, but in other pages on BBC, we're kind of inundated with
just things that seem unreal.
With things that seem so crazy that it's hard to adequately get behind each one of them.
Yes.
Not that they're sensationalized, even though a lot of times I think they are. But pathogens in the sea ice that's been something that I've heard being talked about for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty scary stuff.
It is. But maybe this, I don't know, hopefully one of these times something will come out from the science and people will actually...
Yeah, that's funny. We've talked about that people always talk about in kind of a pie in the sky, head in the clouds kind of thing. They say, well, maybe world peace is only going to happen if there's some kind of big unified threat like an alien invasion and all the countries have to get together or something like that. But it's funny because it pretty much is like a huge unified threat right now, like like climate change, and it actually seems to be causing a lot of division.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the next one says, and it has a nice thumbnail picture of a monkey. It says, astonishing fossil ape discovery revealed. Ooh. It says fossils of a newly discovered ancient ape could give clues to how and when walking on two legs evolved. I mean,
don't animals walk on two legs? Like, not always, but I mean, like, I don't know.
No, because
it's always been an advantage. Like, bears can walk on two legs and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, but the fossil record is missing a lot of
It is, yeah.
stuff like that. So it's
It's cool.
yeah. Anyway, the next one says Robo dog creator learned by unbalancing toddler.
What?
It says the boss of robotics company Boston Dynamics has confessed he once nudged his 1-year-old daughter over to work out how people balance.
Oh my days.
It says a YouTube video of the humanoid robot remaining upright while being poked with hockey sticks has 34 million views. I mean, is this really news? I don't know.
Why is that in the environmental news section?
Maybe I'm just in science and technology.
Maybe you are.
Okay, let me. Okay. The BBC website's hard to navigate, so maybe I'll just only read out the environmental ones.
That's a good idea.
Or the ones I find really interesting. Okay, the next one I see, which is kind of relevant, says nuclear fusion, a question of when, not if. It says the prospects of developing nuclear fusion as a feasible source of energy have significantly improved, say experts. What do you say about that?
Oh, dear.
What do you know about fusion?
Fusion is two atoms coming together, right? And fission would be like an atom splitting?
Not two atoms coming together, it's when you put another proton or hydrogen particle into the atom.
Yes. So proton or hydrogen being added to. So, fitting into that shell.
Fusion is what happens in the sun, and fission is how humans have always gotten energy from nuclear reactors since the 50s.
Yes.
So fission is the one which is comparatively easy, and fusion is the one which has always been like, once we do this, all our energy needs will be solved.
But that just seems incredibly dangerous.
You mean like nuclear energy?
Do we know even... Well, I don't know too much about nuclear energy. Is that what nuclear power plants are from? Like fission reactions?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But I feel like fusion is different because, like, have we
I don't think it's incredibly more dangerous on a large scale, because fission's about as dangerous as it gets on a large scale.
Mm-hmm.
But not that I would say no to nuclear power because it's dangerous, because like, you know, there's a lot of sensationalism about power reactors exploding and all this stuff, but I'm pretty sure in reality they're much safer than like coal mining, all that.
Yeah, probably.
It's just that the few incidents that have happened have been so high profile.
Yeah, like there's nuclear reactors in Canada, aren't there?
I don't know.
I feel like there are, and it's just like they're so low key and just like that no one's really worried about it, because I feel like if it's done correctly and maybe not on like a massive scale, like if there's a few smaller ones throughout, maybe.
Anyway, the article says the UK, because this is BBC, it says the UK government has recently announced an investment of £200 million to deliver electricity from a fusion reactor by 2040. Wow. Well, I took a physics in the energy and the environment class last year, so I learned a pretty decent amount about all the different
types of energy
production. And basically the teacher was incredibly knowledgeable, and he was really quite skeptical of nuclear fusion. He was like, they've been saying this since I was a kid, and the man was probably knocking on 70. He was like, he keeps up to date with all the recent developments and all the advancements and stuff, and he's like, he basically said, it will definitely not happen in my lifetime, and he said to us, it most likely won't happen in your lifetime. He said, because, I mean, just the plants themselves take ages to build.
That makes sense.
And I'm pretty sure he was mentioning that they've only actually managed to do fusion for like half a second or like
That's
2 seconds in a lab.
Thinking, yeah.
That's and 200 million to this. I mean, as an environmentalist, my first question has to be like, couldn't that have gone to?
Yeah, like wind.
Wind or solar or something.
Somewhere in Canada, there's this plant that they're trying to build. It's like a biomass plant, and it's like 9 or 8 billion that they had. Like, it was just incredibly expensive.
No, I know.
But it was like to meet the sustainable energy needs, and it's like, this isn't a sustainable
biomass.
Like, biomass for electricity isn't sustainable. For heat, it's like 91% of the energy is captured when they burn it.
Okay.
But if they're burning it for electricity, this is off topic, but just like a similar, like, why didn't you just put this money towards windmills, which are known to be sustainable? But like if it's burned for electricity, only 21% of it is actually used. The rest of it just goes up the chimneys.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys.
I mean, there's a lot of energy sources of production that aren't incredibly efficient. Solar being one of them.
Yeah.
The difference is what's happening with the leftovers. Like with solar, nothing's polluting.
Yeah.
From the 80% or so that isn't being converted to energy.
Yeah.
So it's not such a bad deal, except financially. But anyway, this kind of annoys me because a lot of people, maybe more people who are more politically centrist or, don't want to be too radical environmentalists will say, well, yeah, we need to go renewable, but I think first we should kind of go nuclear as like
transition.
As a transition fuel. That's always the thing.
Oh my gosh.
But the thing is, as a transition fuel, it costs so much
and
to build
so
nuclear plants, and it takes so long. It takes like 8 or 9 years to build one nuclear plant. Yeah. It's crazy. So transition fuel doesn't really work. No,
it's not the ultimate solution.
And nuclear fusion, I think, is something that would be great to start pouring money and research into once the current state of energy is a little bit more sustainable.
Yeah, for sure.
But as it is, going for that instead of more proven renewable methods is kind of irresponsible, I would say, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, do you have anything else to say on that?
No, that was my thoughts.
So the next article is maybe a little bit more political. It says, Extinction Rebellion. High Court rules London protest ban unlawful. So a police ban on Extinction Rebellion protests in London last month was unlawful, High Court judges have ruled. The Metropolitan Police imposed the ban, which prevented 2 or more people from the group taking part in protests. But judges have ruled that police had no power to do this because the law did not cover separate assemblies.
It's like it banned them from participating in any protest? Like 2 or more people from that group?
Yeah.
So if there's like a climate strike, 2 people can show up?
Yeah. It says the Extinction Rebellion autumn uprising intended to be held from October 14th to 19th was not therefore a public assembly, therefore the decision to impose the condition was unlawful. Okay. So the judges basically said, no, you guys can protest, I think.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
It's because during 10 days of climate change protests last month, activists shut down areas around Parliament and the Bank of England. I mean, we don't really want to get into the specifics of this.
They were just protesting.
Well, let's just talk about like what we know about the protest. Well, there was something in our town about protesters on a bridge, which caused a big hoo-ha.
Big thing. Oh dear.
I was talking with my parents about this, and they were saying like it probably doesn't do good for the cause to be associated with disrupting workplaces or stopping people from getting to work or closing down roads and stuff like that.
If people were idling in traffic when they didn't need to be, it's like, I guess people are going to take the negatives out of it no matter what.
To be honest, I say for environmentalists, maybe get in the news however you can.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Yeah, don't
Not
do anything
too crazy, but sometimes being a nuisance in protests is probably a good thing.
Yeah, because being only passive, like, you need to disrupt society somehow.
A little bit. There are ways of doing it.
Yes.
Protesting is a way.
It is.
Peaceful protesting.
And I mean, shutting down a bridge isn't
It's not the end of the world.
No. Like, there's nothing really aggressive about it.
I can definitely see the arguments against it.
Yeah. They give enough warning, though, for people to be like, I mean, there's 2 bridges coming into our town. Yeah. So, like, you could take the other one. Anyway.
Here's one that says, how much will this be a climate change election? Obviously talking about the UK election. Could this be the UK's first general election where climate change plays a defining role? I'm not big into UK politics, but I hope so.
I hope so. I don't know if it's going to be the case, though.
Yeah, I mean...
It's a lot of rural areas.
I'd love to see a Green Party win somewhere. Or, get a significant amount of votes somewhere. Hasn't really happened yet.
No.
And the problem is I think most maybe moderate voters who are sold on climate change and, they're all for it and they have, started using reusable bags and stuff, they'd probably be okay with the environmental plans of the big parties,
Yeah, for sure.
which is what was the case in Canada anyway.
Mm-hmm. Even chatting with people like in my classes or my friends, it was like, what do you think you're going to vote for? And they'd be like, oh, well, this bigger party is like, I don't know. I feel like green just makes the most sense.
Well,
The most radical.
yeah, I just
fit this
go
radical issue.
kind of from surface level on politics. So even without even analyzing or doing a deep dive into the big parties' platform, sometimes you can just tell on the face of it. Maybe there's some hypocrisies. Maybe they're putting up an environmental face but supporting pipelines or something like that.
Maybe they are.
And for me, green, the reason that would be the best choice, I don't know what other countries' equivalents of the Green Party is, but it's probably just called the Green Party around the world,
Yeah,
or something
probably.
like that. It's more about sending a message than maybe the supporting the platform 100%.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about the pride where you can say, our country voted green. You know, telling kids seeing that and saying, wow, environmentalism is mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
and cool, and it's not some fringe thing. Like, this is a key part of politics.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more about sending a message. You see that in certain countries now where maybe platforms might not be so bad and the actual actions of the governments might not be so bad, but it's more about how they're emboldening bad people
Mm-hmm.
and bad and radical views. We can do that from a good side as well. Like,
Yes.
voting green would just embolden environmentalists
Yes.
and
For sure.
and legitimize that area of education, for instance, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or even just like, yeah, it would be nice to be able to talk to people about the environment and then not be like, oh, this person's a hippie.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not a hippie. Like, I
just wear white pants.
and hug trees.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. What's so crazy about that?
So this one should be interesting to you. It says, when Leo met Greta, DiCaprio praises Thunberg.
Leo met Greta.
Leonardo DiCaprio says Greta Thunberg is a leader of our time.
So are you, Leo?
The actor shared a picture of himself with the climate change activist on Instagram. He wrote, he hoped Greta's message is a wake-up call to world leaders everywhere and that the time for inaction is over.
Well, Leo made that movie, didn't he?
Before the Flood, that
Before
documentary.
the Flood, yes.
And he's a UN ambassador and he's always talking about it and stuff.
Yep. Something we've talked about Leo before is people always are like, why are you driving these cars and having these big houses?
You have 6 mansions and you fly private jets.
But it's like...
And it's funny because people say the exact same thing about her with vitriol as well, and she's like a young kid.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't own a house.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know. But that stresses me out because it's like he's doing way more good than most people.
It's a personal attack.
Yeah.
And him flying a private jet, or her flying a private jet, or environmental protesters using plastic water bottles or littering completely doesn't invalidate what they're saying at all.
No.
And anyone who picks on that, I think is just doing so because they don't want to address the message.
Yeah.
And probably don't want to address their own part in the message.
Yeah.
So, for instance, there's a lot of like right-wing commentators on Greta, and they're saying, "How can you be environmental when you're jetting around and polluting and all this stuff?" When they probably do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of issues there.
You can't like, if you're protesting a thing, you still have to protest from that thing and like live in that world and stuff.
Yeah.
So you still have to get around.
Yep.
How can you
My favorite, not my favorite, but I saw it somewhere, and like everybody's probably seen it, but it's like the person that invented the light bulb did so by candlelight. Like people that invented cars had to drive carriages. Like
was that
you
a
have
meme
to use.
or a tweet?
No, it was a Facebook post.
Oh, I see.
By my environmentally minded friend, and
Yeah.
I was like, cool, man. But yeah, I thought that was a good little, like, you have to use the vessels that you have to make change. I don't know.
Some people just have hate and are naturally cynical.
Yeah.
Anyway, it says Leo recently put $5 million towards helping the Amazon rainforest after the recent outbreak of fires there. I like him.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. We talked about this. It's really important to have public figures being environmentalists, because
Mhm.
there really aren't many. Oh, we were saying this about Greta as well, how she's like the first one.
Yeah.
Um,
First one to like be like a household name known for environmentalism.
yeah, well, movements tend to need figureheads, don't they?
They do,
They
yeah.
tend to need people to get behind. What do we think about Greta Thunberg?
I don't know. I think it's cool that she.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'm
I
just
don't really know much about her,
impressed.
but
No,
she's
neither
young
do
and
I.
she started all this stuff, so
Yeah. Like, if your actions can inspire other people, like,
especially other kids,
yeah. Because kids are
the future.
the future, yeah. And they're easy to influence, but hard to keep their attention.
They're easy to influence.
But I feel like she's managed to capture their attention.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. And, yeah, good for her.
Anyway, moving on, we see, this is a video, it says, does climate change mean marine life is moving? Experts predict that marine species are moving into new habitats, partly due to climate change.
Yeah, everything's moving north.
Most things are moving north, some things are moving in other places.
Yeah.
I think the ocean's probably not quite so predictable because there are like cold patches and hot patches and stuff like that, and currents, but it just disrupts everything. Like we see that in, we had a forestry guy come into our class and he was talking about how trees are moving north.
Yeah.
Walking.
They are.
No, just the seeds.
But, like, what was it? Something about our forests. Oh, like, there was this disease that came and knocked out a bunch of the species in our area. And so now it's, like, pretty, like, there's only, like, a few tree species. But a lot of them are very, like, northern tree species. Like, they thrive in cold.
Oh.
But as the climate's getting warmer, all of these trees are being screwed. So it's, like, we have no tree options. I don't know. It was just like, oh, that sucks. Like, so hopefully it'll balance out. But, yeah, species are moving northwards mainly.
That's the kind of thing where I find it hard to believe that it'll be completely mitigated. Like, I think there will be, like, a semi-permanent, like, things will just look different. You know, species will just exist in different areas, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because there'll have to be, like, a small amount of, like, settling and, like, restructuring among ecosystems.
Yeah, for
about
sure.
where they are, which species now there's way less of, or there's way more of. You know, invasive species also playing a part in that, with like humans bringing animals here and there, and there'll be definitely a new normal.
Yes.
We just kind of need to stop it from getting too strange, probably.
Yes, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Moving on past the Scottish tourist's hand and wedding ring found inside shark.
Oh dear.
And we have farmers angry over slurry pollution rule changes. The environment minister has the environmental minister has previously called the level of agricultural pollution embarrassing.
So slurry is like the mixture of like runoff water, right?
Yes.
With like mixed with pesticides and
Poo.
herbicides and poo. So it's just very polluted water that they'd probably just be either getting into groundwater, getting into other waterways. And the environmental minister called that disgusting. I don't see why.
Yeah, there's a lot of pollution. The problem with doing agriculture at such a huge scale is that no matter how well you deal with the waste, it's typically all still going to go in one place at a huge amount at one time.
Yeah.
Which is not something that natural buffers like rivers tend to do well with.
Yeah, makes sense. And when you put those types of things into waterways, just for, I don't know, people that don't know, it like feeds the algae and then it grows and grows and grows. And algae is normally a little bit of it, but as it multiplies like exponentially, it just like fills the waterway and light can't get past the surface layer, so everything down below dies.
And oxygen can't either.
Oxygen can't get in.
Well, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Even excluding the poop and mud and stuff, even just
if fertilizer gets in.
Eutrophication it's called. It's when there's too many nutrients in the water. Sounds like a good thing, but is actually a bad thing.
Yeah, so that's what it does. It's like, oh, it's just getting in the water, but it actually like kills the entire ecosystem because water and oxygen and light can't get in. So, not good.
This one says that the Scottish Green Party say climate is the most pressing issue. Good to know. It's pretty obvious.
I think the shocking headline would be if they said it wasn't, if they were focusing on something
climate
else.
is not important. Anyway, this is a little sci-fi video. It says, probing the universe's dark energy. Do you know what dark energy is?
No.
It says, a super telescope is to undertake the most detailed observation of the universe ever. The aim of the 5-year program is to shed light on dark energy, the mysterious force thought to drive an accelerated expansion of the universe.
Why are we I don't know.
You don't like space exploration?
Why are we focusing on this?
I'm sorry, I just read it out.
No, I mean, like, why is
society
focusing on this?
I don't know, I think it's cool.
It's cool, but, like, just put the
money
money
People always say that. People always say, like, well, why don't we work on fixing the world we have here? But I don't know. I think it's important
cool.
to maintain and to retain a sense of wonder in society.
Yeah.
If everything's just going towards stopping climate change,
I don't know.
Where's the sense of excitement in that?
But nobody knows. Like, I don't hear people talking about, like, dark matter, like the...
Well, let's talk about it right here. We don't know anything about it.
We don't know anything.
Anyway.
I don't know. Like, it's cool to have people, like, in the International Space Station and people... I was shocked to know that people hadn't been on the moon since the 60s.
No.
Or, like, whenever the
last... if they even ever went on the moon.
We don't know.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. I was shocked to know that. But it's, like... all I needed to know was the myth. And in my head, I just, like, extrapolated that people were always zipping up to the moon. People were out in space doing their thing. That's what I thought until, like, this year.
Anyway. This one says, again, kind of a more technology thing. It says, behind the wheel of a hydrogen-powered car. The Hyundai 1X35 was fast, eerily quiet. They've installed a little electronic jingle so you can tell when you've switched it on. And there was a reassuring 230 miles left on the clock. And best of all, I drove with the smug knowledge that when a vehicle is powered by hydrogen, the only exhaust product is water.
It's kind of cool, but probably very expensive.
Very expensive, kind of cutting-edge technology, and has been for like the last 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
And from what my physics class told me about hydrogen cars, the main issue...
is that they explode on impact.
Yeah, it's so explosive.
Yeah. That's not good.
And also just storing the fuel in itself, whereas gasoline, which we store, is kind of really easy because you can just kind of pump it around and all this stuff. But having huge tanks of hydrogen and carrying and transporting those is a big issue.
Yeah.
So it's more about, I think developments in this industry are more about the storage, containment.
Yeah, makes sense.
Those kind of materials. So yeah, it says, like, it's listing all the stats of the cutting edge hydrogen powered vehicles, and it says it's just talking about how this one boasts triple layer hydrogen tanks capable of absorbing 5 times as much crash energy as a steel petrol tank.
Oh, okay.
So there's definitely room for improvement here. I mean, there's potential, should I say?
I mean, we know that the hydrogen can power cars, but it's more just like making the vessels to carry it.
Well, what do we think about this versus electric cars versus alternative modes of transport?
My opinion, we should just rewrite the whole system and try and get rid of cars altogether, because I feel like transitioning to all electric cars would probably be the best. Like, if we had to have cars, electric
kind of like nuclear energy. Like, people talk about nuclear energy in terms of big energy production, is how we talk about electric cars for transport.
Yeah, it's like
yeah, it'll be a good transition. Like, if someone buys a Tesla, I'm going to be like, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, well, why didn't you just
get rid of your car altogether?
Or something like that.
Like that's cool that they got a Tesla or an electric car. But I think we need to work on something a bit more on a larger scale, because not everybody's going to have the means to transition to an electric car because they're expensive.
They're expensive. I mean, the price is going down.
There, but I mean, that'd be like every single car would have to come off the roads. That's like
that's
millions of cars.
Billions
of cars.
Yeah.
Would have to come off the road, and we can recycle them, but not everything's going to be recycled, so there's going to be a lot of waste, plus putting all new ones on the road. Like, I don't know.
And the thing is, the price of those I don't really know how markets work, but I think the price of traditional gas-powered cars would maybe go down to try and remain competitive.
That would probably be their only alternative.
And I could see it. I mean, I could picture it. You know, it would all be well and good maybe in North America and in Western Europe, where everyone is driving new electric cars, and then developing countries maybe are just buying even more, or other parts of the world maybe just buying even more fuel dependent vehicles.
Yeah, India just banned every second day, so like days with odd calendar days. If your license plate is an odd number, you can't drive your vehicle that day. So that takes 230 million cars off the road every day because they're having like a smog epidemic.
That's good.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be maintained. Not
That's
just
what I was going to say. I
like,
wonder how well it'll be enforced as well.
Yeah, but hopefully, because that just is a cool
good.
idea. Then you can carpool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why don't you guys just carpool? Just going off on a tangent. I'm always kind of romanticizing about the days long before I was born, where there were huge elements of like excitement and progress and things being built in countries, like when Canada was building this huge railroad, or America was doing stuff like that, pioneering. And there's definitely bad parts of those times, like cultural parts about inequality. And
but imagine if we were building this cool
stuff.
like electric train.
Exactly.
Like everyone gets so hyped.
Everyone gets
it.
so behind it, and you see it even in it's a thing in politics that typically people get in on promising infrastructure. That's how Trump got in. He was like, I'm going to renew all America's roads, bridges, the cities, the infrastructure. It'll create jobs. It'll blah blah. So it's a huge populist thing. People like it. Yeah. And there's just a big space for that to be environmental.
For sure. Like they're building a farmer's market here.
In energy production and in actual architectural projects.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. The farmer's market they built here is all sustainable. And like, it's like a tourist destination.
Yeah, it gets
like,
people excited.
Whoa, like this water comes from the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, rainwater. Like people get so hype about it and like come just to see it and experience it. So it's like, why don't we?
Well, people like nice, big, impressive structures. And most of those that are built are either really kind of intimidating, or like big skyscrapers, or very samey, or like not that, they don't inspire a lot of awe.
The Bull Ring, do you remember that?
The Bull Ring.
That was a cool building.
Oh, in
it's
Birmingham.
A mall. Yeah.
In Birmingham, England, we liked the mall when we went there.
We got off a train to like just switch to another train, but then we like went outside because we had a little layover or whatever. Yeah. And it was just this, just look it up. It's like this swirly like glass building, but it's like, that's cool. Like I'm telling people about it. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that was off. I just want people to look at that and appreciate it.
But that kind of thing, but for transport, is what we were originally talking about.
For people to get off the train and see this cool electric one, and then like choose to take that.
One of the main reasons I want to go to Asia, or Japan, is because of the high-speed rails they have. Like that's an actual attraction for me. I think it'll be really cool. Yeah. Let's build that here.
Imagine being able to get to one side of the province to the other in like 1 or 2 hours. It's like Japan, right? You can get from the top to the bottom in a few hours. Yeah. That's so cool.
Anyway, that was kind of scatterbrained, but we will have an episode about transportation.
Also one about infrastructure.
And infrastructure, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try and find a good one to end on here, a good article to end on.
Sounds good.
So the last one I found here is called "The Shareholders Fighting to Make Oil Farms Greener." And it's about how shareholders of big oil and gas extraction companies are starting to be activists in their own right and make the world's biggest oil companies pressure them to be a little bit more sustainable. It's detailing in particular this one guy who has implored his company to back a resolution to stop drilling for oil in the Great Australian, this really pristine stretch of coastline in Australia.
Okay.
It is just the latest example of how so-called shareholder activism is being used to try to pressure big energy firms to adopt greener policies. What do you think about this?
I have a couple different trains of thought on that. The first would be, I feel like the most activist move you could do as a shareholder of an oil company would be to divest your investment into something sustainable.
Ooh,
and then if they had no funding, then they would just have to shut down.
I disagree on that.
Okay.
Because my first thought on that is if one of these guys at a huge, let's say Exxon or something, one of these big shareholders pulled out, there'd be someone else just to take their place instantly. There's probably people chomping at the bit to be shareholders at Exxon.
Yeah,
There's probably
that's
people lined up trying to get in those rooms.
Yeah, I guess.
And I'm thinking, like, it's kind of an interesting idea, changing the industry from the inside like that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of in the Batman movies where people were saying, hey, Batman, you don't have to put on the mask anymore. You can just use your money and your influence and your power to change Gotham for good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cool, like, if they're able to stop them from drilling in, like, incredibly dangerous places, then that's better than nothing.
Yes.
And that's an interesting idea. Like, if all of the activists started just buying shares in these,
I think
bad
you just might be
companies,
onto something then.
I mean, like, we own you.
I don't know how that would go down though, because at the next climate protest, if you have a big sign that says "invest in oil companies," but that is a cool idea.
Something like that.
Just like hijacking it from the inside.
Yeah.
Maybe someone could make a good movie about that or something.
Yeah.
But I must say, I'm initially kind of cynical about this one because, I mean, I think this article is highlighting just one or a couple of shareholder activists, but I wonder how many of these people there actually are.
Yeah.
Because most of them are probably just prioritizing profits.
Probably.
And if someone said to them, "Hey, why don't you become a shareholder activist and pressure your company to be more sustainable?" they'd be like, "No."
Yeah, because they're gonna get less money.
Something has to be done, obviously, about big oil companies and not even just maybe their own methods, but what I think is most immediate is the lobbying they do in various governments.
Yeah, the influence on the government.
The influence is a big worry, and
If
that's
those
something that
be
shareholders could
separated.
probably say something about.
Probably. That's a good idea, actually.
Mm.
So if those were separated, I feel like government would be able to do more.
Yeah, we should kind of, how there's like the separation of church and state.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be like the separation of oil and state.
That
That could
makes
go
a
on
lot
a
of
good.
sense.
That could go on a good climate change protest sign.
Or a T-shirt.
Okay.
Don't steal our idea.
So I think that's about it.
Yeah. So thanks
That's
for
about
listening.
it for headline hook.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that is what it was called. We threw out a lot of names.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. You can check us out on Instagram. We made an Instagram for people to kind of discuss the topics and get inspiration and just kind of know what's coming up next week. We encourage you to spend as little time on there as possible.
Yes.
But like if you want information in like a non-audio form,
Yeah.
you can go on there.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.